works to schedule things.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Oh, and it's uh, your last name is Haraz. Is that how you say it?
Hurrahs. Yeah, you got it
Haraz.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, I'm here with Nick Haraz to talk about the classes he'll be teaching at the Video Creators Virtual Summit. Hey, Nick, thanks for taking a few minutes to chat.
No problem, Dave. It's great to be a part of the summit. I'm really excited for it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get to your classes in a second, but as always, here on this page, people can read the official bio, but give us the short version of who you are and what kind of things you do.
Yeah, I'm currently the director of product marketing for a company called Boris Effects, who makes plugins for Premiere Pro and After Effects. But I've been a long time instructor just before that, teaching in video editing applications, as well as motion graphic workflows in the Adobe ecosystem as well.
Nice. And that's kind of what you're doing for this summit for us, thankfully.
Yep.
And so one of your classes is called How AI Works in Adobe Premiere Pro. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing in that class.
Yes, well, and as you know, Dave, like AI has been on the top of everyone's mind over the last year,
Right.
specifically like a lot towards generative AI. But I really think what makes AI exciting inside of Premiere Pro is not generative, it's just amazing AI algorithms that
Hmm.
speed up the way that you work. So recently at Adobe Max, I actually featured something called Enhanced Speech, which I'll be covering in this class, which years ago when I was on set and shooting audio, if you had a bad audio take, you'd have to get someone back up in studio to re-record that.
Right.
And now this promise of these one-click solutions is finally here. So it's going to take bad audio that will have reverb or a lot of background sound, analyze it, clean it up, and make it sound so much better.
Hmm.
So that's one of those things that I will be covering in the
Sure.
class.
Nice. And that's great to hear because I know I'm of the same opinion that every time I hear AI, I think of the generative AI type of things, like creating something out of nothing. But it's pretty cool to think about all the other things that AI do that make our lives easier.
Yeah, and when I think about Premiere Pro as well, it really is starting to change the way that video editing works, and almost like in a way that should have been intuitive from the beginning, but the technology wasn't there.
Mm.
So another thing I'll be covering is something called text-based editing. And as someone who's put together a lot of documentary content or works with a lot of talking heads, what I find is that you need to splice up little small segments to assemble your final piece. And beforehand, you'd have to listen to that versus read a transcript, or if you did have a transcript, someone would have to type that manually. And
Mm.
now this is all automated. In the beta of Premiere Pro, you can upload clips inside of import clips inside of Premiere Pro, and it will automatically transcribe it for you if you want. And it's accurate. It's like
Mm.
90% there. You're following along and basically highlighting text and splicing it into your timeline. I truly believe that this will change kind of the paradigm of how video editors think.
Yeah, I mean that's still I know that's one of the I don't use Premiere Pro very much. I'm a Photoshop guy, but there have been a couple times where I just needed to get a transcript and looked at the results and was like, wow, that's very accurate. And it was like accurate in terms of terminology that wasn't everyday, thing not just regular real world kind of words, but just the terminology, and it did an amazing job. So that alone is just an incredible time saver.
Yeah, and it's even getting better and more accurate in one case. And then the other thing is commonly, even probably during this conversation, I'm using a certain amount of filler words, ahs. It's
Right.
very common in speech and in interviews. And now you have these automated methods that pick up on these words, and you can click a button saying delete all. And on your timeline, all of these
Wow.
filler words and pauses are gone. I mean, you're left with a series of jump cuts, but it just really takes away some of the mundane processes that, you
Hmm.
know, we had to do manually. And
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing. One of my favorite phrases when I talk about automating things is that anything that's better than the alternative of you doing it yourself. And this sounds like an amazing example of that because that's a lengthy process if you had to when you had to do that manually for sure.
yeah.
That sounds
So
great.
So,
Go
so
ahead.
definitely covering that. And then there's a ton of other features from automatic color correction to using something called Morph Cut that are all AI powered, and we'll just sort of get a sense for how that works inside of Premiere.
Wonderful. That sounds awesome. Okay, and your other class is Adobe Premiere Pro for social media content. So what kind of things you're going to talk about in that class?
Yeah, so when I think of social media, my brain is just a video editor and a storyteller.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I know the my brain as a video editor and a storyteller is that, you're always focused on trying to produce amazing content that is story driven. So I consider this one part of the social media class to be towards that. So how is someone who produces content and now with levels and expectations of a lot of content on a weekly basis, how can we use Premiere Pro to our advantage to tell short story and even shorter story in fast amounts of times? So getting away from the technical hurdles. The other aspect to that is, we live in almost a multi-dimensional world where we're producing content for your regular television screen 16:9 to people who are watching content on your phone where that is a vertical based video. So how can you use Premiere Pro to send out content to all of these formats and do that almost in an automated way?
Yeah, and I think that's really important because, as you said, the people feel the need to be putting out so much content, but if everything takes so much time to create it or to produce it, then anything you can do to speed that up makes perfect sense.
And funny enough, there's like a little bit of a connection between the two classes. Premiere Pro has a feature called Auto Reframe, which will analyze any sequence, such as one that's 16:9, and then try to take the main element that's within the frame. So let's just say that is the portrait of a character. And even if the camera moves around, it will automatically keyframe for you so that that subject
Wow.
is in focus. And of course, you can tweak this after the fact, but trying to do something like this manually is time consuming.
hmm Well, and I think that's the other key part of any kind of automation is it may not get you the exact result you want, but if it gets you so much closer and then you can do a final tweak to get it to the end result, that's still a huge time saver.
Yeah, I really think that you said that perfectly, Dave, because even these generative AI tools, like when I consider them, they're just pieces of a puzzle of a lot, and that let's call that larger puzzle creativity or content production. It's like utilizing these tools, getting you closer to your end result, much closer than ever before, and just allowing you to focus on those things that really matter to you, like story,
hmm
content, refining the script like never before. If we use these tools and can get rid of those technical hurdles, you just have that much more that you can focus on the content that you want to speak to people.
All right. So throughout these chats with instructors, we do mention that we ask the instructors to have some kind of bonus for VIP members. So what do you have in mind for our VIPs?
Yeah, so with both of the classes, you have access to my exercise files. So all of the footage that you'll see that I'll be demoing inside of Premiere Pro, you can follow along with. And as someone who's passionate about educating people, I can't, reinforce how much you retain when you're doing the task along with me.
hmm
With that said, anyone who signs up and it's available to you for free for those 48 hours, you're going to learn a ton about new features within AI and how that works in Premiere Pro. Not to mention the social media aspect as well, just different tools that you can use to make your workflow that much smarter and better.
Nice. Awesome. Well, those classes sound great, Nick. Thanks so much for taking a few minutes to talk about them.
No problem, Dave. Can't wait for the conference.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
Perfect. Click that.